Hi, welcome again to yet another episode of Thirdweb and Etherlink. We've learned about many different aspects of web and blockchain development from, let's say, piece by piece perspective. Today we're gonna go through extremely important and extremely exciting part of Thirdweb, which is Nebula, and we have Joe here, the solutions engineer from Thirdweb, and yes, it's gonna be the last episode in the series, but I think actually the most important. No, maybe not the most important, the most exciting one. Joe, the stage is yours.
Thank you very much, Beta. Yeah, so let's go through Nebula. For everyone watching, I'm Joe. I'm a solutions engineer here at Thirdweb, and I'm here to help you guys build the very best apps with the toolkit on Etherlink. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to share my screen with you all as always. And let's see here. There we go. You guys should be able to see my screen now. So again, I'm with Thirdweb, and we're going to be talking about a very interesting and important topic, Nebula. This is our AI agent, and this is how you guys can be on the forefront of technology in the Web3 space. AI is everywhere. It's not going to go away anytime soon. It is here to stay, and it's going to be a great help to you all when you learn how to use AI, especially in terms of agents. We'll go through a little bit of a difference on what an agent is versus traditional AI, as well as how you can use Thirdweb's Nebula, right? Why is it different? Why is it special? So what is Nebula, right? Nebula is the most powerful AI for blockchain, period. It is the ability to read, write, and reason on chain. It understands every transaction on every contract on any EVM chain, including Etherlink. And that's what makes it so powerful, right? This is the reason why Nebula is going to be the tool, not only from a vibe coding perspective, but from a transaction perspective, right? So as we think about AI and the world that AI, the world of AI and the role it plays, we see a lot of use cases currently. Like we have people asking questions on how to do X transaction. How do I work with a certain toolkit, right? Like here's my idea, help me build out a plan, a roadmap for it, right? And current AI is really good. Don't get me wrong. It's very, very helpful in building these kinds of understandings and building these roadmaps and steps for us. The benefit of Nebula and where we see ourselves as a differentiator is that we're strictly focused on blockchain. So this means that our AI is trained in terms of blockchain concepts. So things like gas, things like transacts, things like events, things like signatures, right? And it understands these transactions. It understands contracts. It understands what it means when you have a solidity function in terms of public view versus private view. It understands all of this kind of stuff, which is really, really powerful. And so as we look through it, we can see some of the differences in data sources, right? So with AI currently, you might see things like, hey, I might have a list of user docs. Whereas with Nebula, you're going to have actual transactions. You're going to have the blockchains themselves as a data source for Nebula. So here's a really cool example here where I say, hey, what's the price of ETH, right? And Nebula will actually look up the contract for the Ethereum contract. It will fetch the price, and then it will validate it against different sources, right? Who are circulating ETH. Maybe it's doing different user bases, right, on ETH, right, for this validation flow. The important bit here is that it's actually querying on the blockchain. So it's actually saying, hey, I'm going to the Ethereum network and I'm looking up the price of ETH versus, hey, I'm going to CoinGecko and looking up the price of ETH, right? It can still absolutely use these outside sources as well, but the main driver is going to be the blockchain itself, which is really kind of one of the core tenets of blockchain, right? This public ledger. And so we are able to actually make use of that with Nebula. So Nebula is going to be a toolkit in its own. You see here this term Nebula API. And so what I'm going to show you today is a little bit about how we use it to build some of our tooling. So it's going to look a little bit more like an LLM, but under the hood, it's powered by our APIs. And again, all of these are APIs. If you guys know about HTTP endpoints, you guys can build on Nebula. You guys are now Nebula devs. That's 3 different certifications you got in the last 15, 20 minutes watching this series. So guess what? Congratulations. You've watched this series. You've earned more certs. That's immense value. This is going to be a really, really cool topic. This is where you guys can have the most creativity. Agents and AI are going to be, they're here to stay. They're going to be the ability for you to really expand beyond what you guys might think possible. So again, this is a little piece of Nebula, access to real-time data in terms of, hey, I'm querying the blockchain directly, so I have access to the latest transactions. I have access to the latest events, which is really, really important here. And so a part of that means that now that I have access to this on-chain data, the agent piece of Nebula, right? We talked a little bit about AI in general. In general, AI is really good at, I can query against it, I can do a prompt, it gives me some information. Agents allow you the ability to execute functions. So there are agents out there already that can do things like schedules. There's some really good personal assistant agents. So you can do scheduling, handling, they can make appointment settings, they can do things like sending out emails already, right? These are actions that are being done in an AI format. So with Nebula, you can do the same thing. You can perform actions. And when we think about it in the context of blockchain, this means sending transactions. This means creating contracts, making sessions with smart wallets, right? Calling your engine instance and having transactions sent. So Nebula is actually connected to all of these tools already. And for example, here in our example, you can see things like, hey, I want to transfer 3 ETH to this wallet address. And it will go through our Nebula API. It will check my current wallet address or the backend wallet that I'm using for Nebula, see if I have enough. Cool. If it does, it will pop up my transaction. So that way I can sign it. I can tell Nebula, hey, I confirm this transaction, and it's done, right? It actually performed an action based on my prompt. I am now in a natural language way interacting with the blockchain versus having to do button clicks, versus having to set up contracts, right? Nebula is handling all of that for me. Just got a big old ping. Nebula's handling that for me. So really, really handy for everyone to use and go through in a understanding in a natural language kind of way. And so again, we're blockchain optimized. Nebula through our T1 model is how we can reason, right? We talked about reading data. We talked about writing with our execution agents. And now we are thinking about the reasoning portion of Nebula. So reasoning through the T1 model means that it is trained specifically on blockchain. It is trained specifically on Thirdweb tooling. It is trained specifically on what a contract is. What is some of this data that we're looking at, right? Sometimes you have things like internal transactions versus external transactions. It knows all this stuff. It knows how to pull in through these various data sources, clean it up, organize it, and serve it to the end user, right? This is really cool in that it does a couple things. One, it has reduced hallucinations. So this means if you're familiar with AI and you've worked with it a little bit, you know that sometimes you might have been talking to it 100 messages ago, and now for some reason it's bringing it back up after you've already corrected it, right? So with Nebula, it has the ability to keep context very, very well. So that way you guys don't have these hallucination feelings. And now, because of agents, we have to think about things like malicious injection. If I'm telling Nebula, hey, transfer funds from one wallet to another, there is an opportunity for individuals to intersect themselves. And Nebula, because I'm talking directly to Nebula and it's secure in its own system, that opportunity for that malicious individual is no longer available, right? It might have existed in other AIs and other LLMs, but here, because of our reasoning model, it knows, hey, if I'm going to open a transaction for you to sign, that's because it's coming from Nebula and not the injected user, right? Which is a really cool feature of blockchain, right? The wallets are the ability for wallets to handle this kind of security feature is one of the great reasons why people are coming over to Web3. So we're making use of all of these different tools that are native to blockchain and pulling them into an AI model that you guys can use. Really, really cool, really handy. And I think it's something like I can geek out about this stuff. Myself, and another member here at the Eamon can geek out about all of this all day long, which is really, really cool. I know I want you guys to try it out. So why? Why do I want you to try it out? Why is this important? So if you're familiar with some other general LLMs like OpenAI, Anthropic's Claude, they lack knowledge and information about blockchains, right? And when I say knowledge and information, they might have a general understanding. Oh, I know what a blockchain is. I know there's a blockchain called Etherlink. But what it doesn't have are things like on-chain data, events, comprehensive data, and the ability to execute transactions, right? So that's the difference in generic LLMs versus Nebula. Cool. I've talked a lot about it. I want to see it, right? So how do I see it? So we're going to go to thirdweb.com/Nebula. You can try it now. And I'm going to share my screen here. Let me stop this link and I'm going to share my screen and show you a little bit of the transactions that I've done through Nebula, a little bit of how you can work with it. So I'm going to share this. Cool. And so this again is not Nebula itself. This was built using Nebula, but this is a really great way for you all to kind of touch it, see what it looks like. And I've actually done a couple of test prompts here. So if very similar to my LLMs, some chats that I've done, I have the ability to create new chats. I have a prompt window here in the middle. I can ask it anything. Really cool thing is context. So in terms of context, I can add wallet addresses that I want to do, whether I'm doing through smart accounts, whether I want my EOA wallets. I can decide what chain I want it to work with. In our case, Etherlink, right? I was able to select Etherlink. And so for an example, I said, hey, Nebula, can you show me the latest transaction on Etherlink? It went through its little reasoning. It queried on chain and it showed me the latest transaction at the time I asked it, right? So here we have at this timestamp what that latest transaction was. It's been a couple minutes since then, but I can actually query it again and say, hey, give me the new latest. And it would give me the latest transaction on Etherlink. Remember, I am specifically getting Etherlink data. I am specifically getting the transaction information, right? So, and what's really cool is like, these are concepts that can be very hard for another AI to understand. If I tell an AI, hey, what was the gas used on this transaction? It's not going to know. But here, because I'm actually querying against the chain, I have all of this information available to me with Nebula. And so another way I see a lot of people use Nebula is now, again, we're in this area of vibe coding. We're in this era of, hey, I'm going to ask an agent how to do something, and it's going to be able to tell me. So here I can do things like, hey, Nebula, can you help me use the connect component on Etherlink, right? And it can tell me, okay, first, install Thirdweb. Second, here's some code snippets that you can follow. And specifically for Etherlink, here's how you can have that chain added, right? Really, really helpful in terms of getting your guys' project up and running. And you can do a whole bunch of stuff. You can have Nebula say, analyze these two NFTs. Is it a good trade? Is it a good swap? Analyze these tokens, analyze, right? And you can do all these kinds of things with Nebula. We have a whole bunch of integrations with things like OpenAI's. We have plugins with OpenAI, Eliza. We have MCPs. So if you guys want to do multi-context protocols, you can absolutely pull those into Nebula as well. Again, all through API endpoints, all through the easiest kind of development that you guys can think of if you're coming over from Web 2 when working with APIs. So that way you guys can get started with Nebula right now on Etherlink, start querying, start asking it to do some transactions on Etherlink, start asking it to talk a little bit about what Etherlink is, right? Like I can even say, hey, Nebula, show me this transaction. Tell me what happened. And it will go ahead and tell you the steps that occurred within that transaction. Really, really cool stuff. And so that's Nebula at a high level overview on how you guys can start utilizing and start working with it. It's open. You guys can go again, thirdweb.com/Nebula, click that link to try it, and you guys are good to go.
Okay, so I think it's the end of our series. All the links are in the description down below. And yeah, I think it's now your turn. Have a look, play around, and please use the comment section to give us more interesting insights, or maybe you have some questions about not only Nebula, but every single part of Thirdweb, and share with us thoughts and everything that you are interested in. Thank you so much, Joe. I appreciate your time. Probably we'll have some more subjects, so stay tuned for more content with Joe from Thirdweb. Thank you so much.
Bye. Thank you very much.
Thank you.